afternoon, everyone. This is RAND, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Tuesday, April 16, 2024, a little after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll be having a Time for Change call tomorrow night around 9 p.m., a little after. And we're going to talk about where we're at as a people on the planet on all fronts, not the crap that you're hearing. The mind turned inwards is the self. Turned outwards, it becomes the ego and all the world, Ramon Morishi. We all have choices. We make choices every moment. In each moment of this life, we have the choice to respond to life from a completely new, alive, and freeing space that is born in the now. Or we can react from an older, unconscious, conditioned pattern that stems from a past story. Many of us are there. We're in an older, unconscious, conditioned pattern that stems from a past story. The choice is always yours in each second of the story we're talking about is not that enjoyable fantasy fairy tale story that we all enjoy listening to around the campfire. It's that one that we drag around like an old ball and chain attached to a heavily shielded yet wounded heart. We all have these stories that we tell. It's just not, interesting at times. I've told stories about certain things, and people have told me stories about their certain things, and to me it's interesting. And it's, you got this, some people have the infamous victim story. It's the one most of us know all too well. It's the one that is fixated on how another wronged us or how we are struggling with money or unable to find the love of our lives or create the career we really want. We often unconsciously believe that by repeating the story over and over and over again, it will help us to escape it, transcend it, or feel better about our poor, lonely, victimized selves. What really happens is that by repeating what we don't want to manifest in our lives, we simply become more wrapped up in the ego's illusions of being trapped, helpless, and powerless. You ever felt powerless? The good news is that you always have the power to transcend your story if you can become conscious enough to see who or what is truly creating that story. It's good to know that all of your stories were created by some life event, or big or small, that actually happened. The event naturally occurred. Then the mind took over and invented its special, specific, positive, or negative meaning on top of the actual event. So you're invited to take this entire week to write down and notice all the stories you tend to repeat in your mind and to other people. This is a very powerful, life-changing exercise. Notice if they are positive or negative stories, and who would you be without any of these stories? These stories stick because something happened in your life that your mind judged as wrong or absolutely always right, and found some sort of peace within that perception. However, when you hold on to any thought or idea about life too lightly, you become overly attached and miss this amazing universe that's happening now. Attachment always leads us to some future suffering, and it's always our choice if we want to be free and manifest more of the amazing goodies or be stuck with the same old small tune. This is where I believe that some people they start getting bored with life because it's like a merry-go-round. They go around and around and around and around. And to them, of course, for them, nothing seems to change. It seems always redundant. Then they start saying, well, there's got to be something more than this. Keeping a story from your past alive takes a lot of work and will drain all of your energy. It will keep you living in the illusion and never awaken to the divinity within your being. This illusionary mind loves to create stories about stories. Heck, you may even be creating a story about the exploration of stories. The reality is that we are not this mind, nor this ego, nor our body, and certainly not an accumulation of all of our stories. We are much more, and much more than can be expressed in words. We don't have the words. You are an infinite soul beyond the ideas of freedom and love. You are and always will be so much vaster than any story your ego could invent. You will continue to exist long, long, long after this story has been forgotten by you in this world. Your being is naturally expansive and completely free. You have just been covering up your true infinite nature with stories. Now, the tricky part in transcending any story is that our ego loves the drama of an emotionally juicy adventure. It's like ice cream to a child. Our lives' traumas and deep issues are so personal, wild, crazy, and feel so real that they often make us feel unique, and that we are even someone superior or special. The truth is that everyone came in, we all came in, every one of us come in, uniquely super special, and we all have the same core issues deep inside. Some of us hide it better than others, right? But we all have the same deep core issues inside of us. These core issues are about what? What are they usually about? They're about being unloved, unwanted, abandoned, and unworthy. I'm talking about deep within. I'm not talking about superficial. What a great recipe to instigate massive transformation in one's lifetime. Now, you may find yourself sticking to these issues because the mind gets busy entertaining the victim story instead of being truly curious about recognizing your divine infinite nature. Now, these personal issues can make up a major part of who you think you are. So to let go of them in many ways can feel like letting go of your entire identity. When you dropped the story, you would have to do the scariest thing of all. You'd need to totally reinvent yourself. Maybe this isn't such a bad thing. You could choose to only be loved, free, powerful, and without any limitation. Now, is this a challenge you would be willing to take on? Letting go of your story may feel like dying, yet in the end, there is no death without some kind of rebirth. So how does one truly transcend their story? Just watch it. Don't participate in it. Watch it. See, when you're watching, you're not judging. You just watch it. Notice if you are focusing on what you want or don't want. See, a lot of us are oblivious to that. I don't. Maybe some of you believe that, not necessarily what you focus on, right, is what you get. So many people are focused on what they don't want, right? You hear it every day. So how present are we to the now moment, really, truly? Or just reprogramming ourselves with more illusion from our past? The experience we have will always be created from our personal interpretation and the universal perception. When you find that you are really, really, really stuck, I think we've all been there. So when you're watching things, right, and let's say you find that you're really, really, really stuck putting energy into how you aren't enough of this or enough of that, or you simply may need some tools to shift your experience. You shift. You can only do it. It's not like someone can do it for you. It's up to you. And how do you move out of that story that you retell over and over again? It's kind of like shifting gears. In one gear, you have this story that you've been retelling over and over and over and over again. Sometimes you can hear yourself telling somebody your story. And then you go, know what? I'm going to shift in a higher gear to get up this hill on this road. And that's what you do. And what happens to the story? You leave it behind. You surrender it. You give it up, because the excitement part with our childlike imagination, curiosity, right, is the new stuff that we will create. It's the new stuff. See, we know the old stuff. We know our old stories that we retell over and over again. But then there's the unknown of the new stuff. See, as soon as we stop repeating our story, we stop giving it energy. And guess what happens to the story? It withers away. It disintegrates. you kind of become an archaeologist explorer, and you start digging. When you are socializing, while you are storytelling, and you need some space to do the digging, just step out. Remove yourself from the situation. Go sit in the bathroom or investigate the source of this saboteur. See, it's asking yourself, okay, where's this coming from? Where is this story coming from? Why do I keep telling this story or saying this story? And it could be anything, right? You could tell a story over and over again to what happened to you in a certain situation as far as this or that or this or that. And you find yourself kind of like in a merry-go-round, a circle, kind of a circle jerk, and just keep telling it over and over again. You step away. You step away from the old stuff that you don't really care to put any more energy in. It's done. It's gone. It's happened. You forgive. You surrender. You embrace. You let go. And you move on. It's only when we have this, and you can take it in, you replace the story with what? Gratitude. Because we get attached. We all get attached to things. You ever met anybody that's not attached to something? So, when you identify the story that you're most attached to, the one you repeat most often, each time you start repeating it, you simply state one thing that you are grateful, one thing that you are grateful for instead. You refocus your mind on what is working in your life and what you are grateful for right now. There are, people say, well, you're going to run out. No, you're not going to run out ever. Ever, ever. You're not going to run out of being grateful for things. And the whole point of this is to get into the habit, autopilot, automatic, where you've been practicing being grateful for so long, it just automatically kicks in. It doesn't matter what you're doing, where you're at the time, who you're with. You can just say it to yourself, deeply grateful for the very moment I'm in. So why are we grateful for the very moment we're in? Because it could be the last moment that we have in these bodies. That's why. So when we focus on what we're deeply grateful for, everything shifts. The frequencies and energies shift into higher states of being. Okay? Because when you're grateful, you're not complaining, right? What's complaining? Complaining is a lower frequency. And complaining, as you well know, can take us in many different directions. We've all been there more than once, right? So it's a counteraction from deep eternal love. So you move into gratefulness and gratitude. Every day, 24/7, you're always in a state of gratitude. Now that's a choice too. Okay, you either make that choice or you don't. Some people think it's silly, and that's their prerogative. But when you practice it, everything changes. It really does. And as long as you do it from your heart, everything continues to transcend. How many of us, in this very now moment, look around at this world, right? Wherever you may be. And you look around the world and you notice the beauty that you are, the detail, and the exquisite abundance. The more time you spend in gratitude, the faster your ego stories will vanish, die, and become distant memories, if that. See, we automatically send out positive energetic vibrations, which in turn magnetize to you the kind of positive, uplifting things you want to manifest. Once you leave your story behind, you can see the truth of your existence and experience total freedom from your ego's suffering and limiting beliefs. It's a liberation, once and for all, liberating you from all your stories. You don't try it, you go for it, you do it. We look at this life in many different ways. An interesting quote from Frank Zappa: without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible. This life is a great teacher. It has this mysterious, seductive way of showing us how deeply powerful, creative, and incredibly penetrating we are. This world wants to be penetrated by us, by our energy, our creativity, our love, and our consciousness. That is why it is here. This world is here to experience us, so that in return we get to experience it. This is the cosmic setup. And how we can learn, grow, and evolve as infinite souls traveling through this life on our mysterious journey home. And we're not just passive observers watching our lives flutter by. We are also not actors on life's stage, playing out these random personalities and the garden variety of roles handed down to us. We are that indescribable expansion and contraction of consciousness that is weaving itself in between. We are the blend of the observer, the observed, and the actor on the grand stage. We are the energy that's creating our actions, and this detached observer who is watching it all magically unfold. We are this interwoven space, this timeless spiritual essence that is beyond all rational comprehension. It can be tricky at first for us to understand that this divine interwoven mystery is what and who we really are. We, as we know, we have all been programmed and imprinted to believe we are either this body or this soul. That we're either spiritual or material being. Yet, when we look with a penetrating, piercing mind into the core infrastructure of our human reality, we will see that we are both. This universe is just too big not to contain both. And whenever we begin to identify ourselves with anything other than all three sides of the coin, we needlessly suffer. Whatsoever is given to you is precious. If it was not so, existence would not have given it to you. Also, Now, we all have had our bouts of suffering. None of us are exempt from it. Different ways, different levels. But it's not always bad. It is the most wonderful indicator that we are not being receptive, open, and available to this universe. Thank God there's something to notify us when we are off target. Our suffering, however, is not to be taken too personally. Suffering just means that the ego, our individuated mind, has got us convinced that it's in charge and running the entire show. It is a master at pretending that your life is something smaller than the divine cosmic immensity that it truly is. The mind has got you hypnotized into believing its minuscule, separate version of reality is true. It's like a colony of ants trying to convince every human being that their world is the only system that exists on this planet. And the most important one everyone should be focusing upon. Especially during this immense transition on this planet and all of the blaring out of dimensional energies and frequencies and the highs and the mediums and the lows. All suffering stems from forgetting our connection with the God source, of which is what we are, which originates from a deeper complaint we have within ourselves that says life should be different than the way it is. And the complaining ego doesn't trust that the all-intelligent, divinely creative God source knows exactly what it is doing. Our ego maintains its kingly or queenly suffering state because it stopped being curious about this awesome divine matrix of life. It has forgotten about our spiritual freedom, the power of pure consciousness, and our ability to choose what really matters. Quote from Osho, which I've read before, which is very true. Everybody is carrying around hundreds of masks. Just watch. Talking to your lover, your boss, or with a person who is not going to fulfill any of your desires. Just watch your face. When you need their help the next day, just watch your face. Is there a moment in your life where you drop all your masks with everyone? So God exists with everything, including your awareness, right here, right now. At the deepest level of reality, this universe has given us an opportunity to discover this connection with the divine, which creates total freedom, love, empowerment, and enlightenment in our lives. We are given an opportunity, while we are in a human body, to create whatever we wish to, including transcending every level of suffering, life mastery, and mastery over our minds. That's the nucleus. That's why we're here. Inner mastery is available to any one of us, anybody who truly believes it's possible to be free from any type of suffering forever. And some people, however, feel they need to suffer more before they are ready for liberation, while others believe they've had enough and are not willing to tolerate living in some version of an inner conflict another day. The most interesting thing that has been discovered is that the people who are truly, honestly finished with their own personal suffering toleration project suddenly create an inner shift in their consciousness that has the most fascinating dimension to it. They begin having a fully open, consistently receptive, welcoming quality to this life, which behaves much like a cosmic womb, continuously ready and willing to give birth to a deeper connection with the God source inside. When we look deeper and begin exploring what exactly is this cosmic womb, we see that it is the foundation for all matter and all antimatter. It is this awesome, supremely empty, universal blackboard of which all consciousness and all its content fall upon. In a more spiritual context, you might say that the cosmic womb is the home base where the creative, all-loving God source abides. The womb is the feminine aspect of God, and all matter and consciousness is the male aspect. Just as you and I came from a womb, everything in this universe also came out of a womb as well. It is what existed before the Big Bang, before the first thought, before there was any empty void in existence. When we begin personally exploring this 100% pure emptiness of existence, we can often first encounter negative states of emotional sensation, such as lack, apathy, loss, or even depression. This is part of the normal emptying out procedure that is simply a clearing of the ego's list of negative limiting beliefs it's been gripping onto. Through a persistent curiosity, devotion, meditation, prayer, or spiritual practice of investigating this purely empty, cosmically connected, womb-like space inside of us, we soon discover something radically divine and absolutely precious bides at the core. At the core of our inner cosmic womb is absolute freedom, true inner peace, and indescribable self-love, a deeply penetrating awareness and the connection to all the power and energy in this universe. You are always have been, always will be, ever, beyond, and forever connected to this. All the power, all the energy in this universe. You, myself, all of us are connected to that. Now, to some people, this must sound quite outrageous and unbelievable. Yet when you experience it for yourself, you'll see That's precisely what it is. The cosmic womb is our sacred entry point, our spiritual gateway to instantly commune with the divine, which is who? You, the real you. When we are inside this absolutely pure empty space, the most direct, loving inner guidance immediately shows up, providing the most vital information and insights we were most needing to have. Discovering how to live in a constant, reverent communion with this sacred womb within is the most solid spiritual foundation that we can relax our entire lives into. There is nothing more reliable, since the cosmic womb is always there, always ready to be received, and always creating the deepest possible transformation within us. When we surrender deeply to this life, we discover our own personal relationship and intimate connection with this deepest experience of reality. And to prove that it is real, we are given the gift of effortlessly finding total mastery over our mind, peace with every emotion we have, a profound unity with our own consciousness, and thus total mastery of our lives. You can see and feel our direction, which we're all on. You're not going to get lost, even though sometimes you feel like you're lost. We're all on it. And you really do start to realize how magnificent and magna-glorious and spectacular it truly is. And that power is within every one of us. You could create a life for yourself where you never suffer. You're never in pain. You're always happy. You're always vibrant, healthy. And you don't worry. And you don't stress. And you don't fear. Imagine that. How can that be? You have mastered what? The mind, the illusion, the ego, the illusion. You've mastered your thoughts. And not from the head, but from the heart. You no longer judge. You watch to learn. But you don't judge. You know, then you've learned that everything that you put out there, okay, everything that you put out there is what's going to come back to you. That it's irrefutable. It does. Now, your ego mind is going to want you to argue that. Oh, no, that's not really true. But eventuality it is. So what does this motivate us to do? It motivates us to be much more mindful of our thoughts. Eventually what happens? You no longer judge. You no longer judge yourself or anything outside of you. And then you begin to realize the true you, the real you, in that body is all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond, and forever. It is eternal, omnipotently powerful, supreme, and that's what all of us are. Kind of ironic, isn't it? That we all have this massive power within us, and yet so many of us feel helpless. Isn't that amazing? It's the difference between the dark and the night, and the day. So it shows you, all of us, what we think about is what we truly become. I'll join you in meditation, and I'll return to close us out.
Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose. And an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. You are a dynamic expression of love. Let your mind think those thoughts which make you feel so good, so free and expansive. Choose feelings that have such a lightness that it feels like your feet may leave the ground. This profound love comes effortlessly when you allow your heart the freedom to express itself in the most outrageous ways. Wherever there is love, there is the great lightness. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night. Following morning, we will return here Wednesday, April 17, 2024. A little after 3:15 p.m. Eastern to continue our global guided meditation call, and a little after 9 p.m. Eastern to continue our Time for Change call. Be gentle, kind, generous, humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest, deepest, purest of the purest, purest, eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's happening within you or outside of you.